first edition of the NFL Draft Bible All Access Pass Show. I'm your host, Mike Gill, with the creator of the NFL Draft Bible, which is used by all 32 teams. He's going to be at the Combine. We got news, notes, nuggets, and more. Ric Serritella is in the house. We got a half hour for you. News, notes, nuggets, everything you need to know. The Combine starts today. You'll be there, Rick. What's up, brother?
Oh, baby, buckle up. It's a double chin strap affair. Love to be talking football with my good friend Mike Gill. We're going to be chopping it up, breaking it down. It is Combine week, Mike. We are getting ready. We got to get the Combine cut yet today. Get packed still. We got some air mileage to put on. We'll be out in Indianapolis bringing you some guests along the way. We got some Twitter spaces flowing. Big shout out to the BFA Sports YouTube channel here for hosting us. And we're going to count you down to that 2023 NFL Draft Destination Kansas City, by the way.
We're going to package it up. 30 shows, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, starting at 10 a.m. between now and May the 5th. So like, share, rate, review, subscribe. Get it out there, draft fans. We've got all the draft information you need, taking you all the way through the draft, post-draft, to grade them and let you know who did well and who did what. We got our 3 and out. We got our guests. We got our rankings and mocks. We got the draft buzz, and we got what's new. So let's start right there on our inaugural show. How is the Combine going to look different this year? What are some changes, Rick?
You know what, Mike? I think that we are entering the end of an era, right? Because the NFL anteed up a contract with Indianapolis through next year. So 2 more years, including this year, it will remain in Indianapolis. And Jeff Foster, who runs the National Invitational Combine, has done a great job for a long time. My understanding is he does not want to move out of Indianapolis. So I think enjoy it in Indy while you can. We have this year and next year. Then it's going to look drastically different because I think you're going to get into a situation where the NFL looks to move this around city to city, take bids. And so that is some change coming up in the future. As far as this week in Indianapolis, I think what we've seen in recent years is the Combine, they dabbled, they experimented with the quarterbacks in prime time. And then last year they said, hey, we're going to do all the positions in prime time. So the NFL Scouting Combine has come a long ways from the underwear Olympics when they first aired to now a primetime event. And one last thing that's interesting, we may not see this at the forefront this year, Mike, but it's going on, it's happening. And by next year, this will be a standard, is my understanding, is the measurements, right? We saw the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine Bowl. They've done away with scout participation in measurements. Scouts are no longer able to attend and view that. The NFL Scouting Combine has taken a step further. Almost like checking in through the airport with body scans. They're going to be using body scanners to record player measurements, the height, the weight, the arm, the wingspan. So that's going to alleviate the process. What might be 5 minutes per player is now going to take 3 seconds per player. And that will become standard starting next year. So a lot of technology being kind of injected into the NFL Scouting Combine.
All right, Rick, let's get into some buzz. I mean, it all starts today. So let's get into what the people, they want to hear the news from Ric Serritella. He's the authority on this all access football. Let's get some access here. So Combine buzz, top story, quarterbacks always top of the list. What do we got?
Well, I think it's going to be another crazy offseason of the QB carousel. And I think the last couple of off seasons, we kept saying to ourselves, man, we've never seen so many quote unquote franchise quarterbacks available. Usually teams do not allow those quarterbacks to test the market or hit the streets. But nowadays, hey, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, Lamar Jackson could be joining that list shortly. We shall see. But I think going into Indianapolis,
I believe he will, by the way. I've been saying this for a while, Rick. Going back to when he got hurt, I don't think we're ever going to see Lamar Jackson in a Baltimore uniform again. That's just me.
You know what? I think, where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire. And that's what you love about the unofficial tampering process, which is the week of Indianapolis, because we'll get out of Indianapolis. We'll go right into the free agent frenzy, and everybody's going to want to know.
You're going down there, man. I want to see some paper napkins. I want to see everybody scribbling out trades on a paper napkin and you holding them up to our, hey, look what I got. I got some rumors, baby.
Yeah, no, we keep it old school, Mike, because you never know who might be peeping around the corner, who might be standing over the shoulder. And so we'll have our Combine confidential, and we'll try to find out Because I don't know what you've heard, but the whispers I'm hearing is that Green Bay is just about fed up and over with the whole Aaron Rodgers
I
experience.
feel, Rick, we got conflicting there. So how much does Aaron Rodgers infiltrate to combine week? Because you said the GMs are going to be there. People are going to be talking, but he's not a draft prospect. But how much does he affect this combine?
Oh, without a doubt, because you got to understand, Mike, you've got the center of the NFL universe all congregating in Indianapolis. A lot of meetings going on behind closed doors. Now, from a public eye, starting today, the general managers and I believe head coaches will be available to the media. So Monday and Tuesday is very front office heavy. And these guys will be meeting. They're all at the JW Marriott. There's a lot of back rooms, a lot of back doors, a lot of nooks and crannies where some side deals and conversations can be had. So I think that Aaron Rodgers may dominate Combine Week because once he figures out his next destination, the QB dominoes, so to speak, will then continue to fall with Carr and Jimmy G and so on and so forth.
Are you at the big Marriott? Are you going Airbnb, Verbo? What do you do?
Brother, we're Courtyard Marriott. We're not Big Willie status. Like
A-Rod effect obviously is big. This seems to be an every year occurrence. NFL Draft Bible All Access Pass for you guys. Here you go. All access. Let's go. Derek Carr, Jimmy G. They are the next tier quarterbacks. How do they play out? Do they get traded on draft? Well, Carr is obviously a free agent. He can sign with anybody he wants, as can Garoppolo. But how do they affect this week leading up to the draft?
Carr, I know he just switched agents, and his new agent probably isn't going to appreciate me saying this, but I think he missed the boat, Mike. I mean, he had the last couple of weeks to be the only girl at the prom. I mean, the Jets wined and dined him. They said, hey, you could be a Hall of Famer if you come to Broadway. I mean, I don't know what else this young man is looking for, but I tell you this, as soon as Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson is out there, guess what? The Jets might have other plans and other thoughts. I thought Carr blew an opportunity to get himself his choice of where to go. And he could have dictated the QB market. Instead, now you're going to get into a situation where I think Aaron Rodgers might dictate the market. Maybe it's Lamar Jackson. And suddenly Carr becomes the third or fourth best looking girl at the prom. And so I thought Carr missed the opportunity. You're hearing Jimmy G wants $20 to $25 million for a guy that's really not durable. At first thought, you might say, that's a lot of money. But when you got guys like Daniel Jones commanding $45 million, Jimmy G at $25 million sounds like a bargain to me.
Our countdown is on. Hang with us for the next 19 minutes or so. We're going to get it all in a half hour. Everything you need. The biggest question entering Indianapolis, it's always the quarterbacks. We just talked about some established guys. Who are the newbies? Who are we watching? 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks. Bryce Young. Let's hear it, Rick.
I think that's also going to be the talk of the combine is just, again, quarterback dictated draft. We're back into 4 quarterbacks now being in that first round conversation. And so to me, we saw it last year, the hand size with Kenny Pickett. He opted not to have his hands measured at the combine last year. He said he was doing some thumb exercises and teams could wait till the pro day. Well, I think Bryce Young, that is going to be the big question. What is his height? What is his weight? You see some nonsense floating around on Twitter that this guy played close to 160 pounds. He's listed on the school site, I think, at 185, Mike. I can tell you this. Last time scouts went in there, which was last spring, he measured at 5'11", 7/8 inches, so just a shade under 6 feet tall. And to our reports, he was 197 pounds. I'm hearing that he's going to tip the scales at right around 200 pounds, which would be about 20 pounds lighter than a Kyler Murray. So when you talk about these smaller quarterbacks and these exceptions to the rule, I think Bryce Young is the exception to the rule.
How possible, Rick, in your mind, are we looking at a 1, 2, 3 quarterback draft? We get trades, obviously, that can make this thing. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis. Even Anthony Richardson's name has been mentioned as a possibility, but how possible is that we see 3 quarterbacks go right off the board or even in the top 5?
No, I do think there will be some moving and shaking. I think Chicago will look to trade down. I think Houston at number 2 is a contender to even trade up a spot. The Colts at number 4 will be looking to deal up. And so you could see a scenario, again, this week, AR-44, Anthony Richardson is built for the combine. If you want to talk about a quarterback creating a buzz for himself, there are some mock drafts out there from mainstream media that has AR-44 as the number 1 overall pick. Some people have Bryce Young as the number 1 overall pick. Others have CJ Stroud. Believe it or not, there's a belief that Will Levis could be the number 1 overall pick. So here we are 2 months away from the NFL draft, and
I love it.
Indianapolis might help dictate who's going to be that 1, 2, and 3 scenario that we might see.
All right, I want to throw a challenge flag in here because what's up with Chicago Fields? I mean, do they think it's the smart move to move him, restart the contract clock? I mean, what's the thought if you're Chicago? Because you just said there's 3 or 4 quarterbacks to choose from. Look, if I'm Chicago, I got to get off the wheel, man. At some point, I got to start running forward. I got to get off this wheel. But I understand getting the contract to control longer years. But at what point do you want to win, and what year do you want to keep playing? Let's make a deal. What's behind door number 3, man? That game has to be over. Game show. They only have a life expectancy of so long.
Sometimes you get made an offer you just can't refuse, Mike. I mean, look at what Trey Lance commanded. Look at what Carson Wentz, took to trade up for it. Look at what teams gave up to get a Kyler Murray. I mean, you are probably going to get 3 first-round picks if you're the Chicago Bears and trade down out of that spot. So I understand the allure. Now, remember, Ryan Poles inherited Justin Fields. That wasn't his guy. And I'll tell you what, he was not exactly incognito making the rounds up in the press boxes, scouting just about every potential first-round quarterback throughout the college football regular season. Typically, you see GMs who do that are in the market for a quarterback. Now, outside of Ryan Poles, I'm not sure that there's anybody else who believes the Bears need a franchise quarterback. I think they found that guy. If I'm Ryan Poles, am I looking to trade back? Sure. But I'm looking to surround Justin Fields with the most weapons I can, because he'll be year 3 into the program.
This is like the XFL. I get to challenge everything. Did you have Fields ranked higher than Bryce Young, Will Levis? When you were doing your research for that draft, did you have Fields as a better prospect than these 3 guys?
Justin Fields would have been number 1 quarterback in this year's draft, absolutely, without a doubt. And I think that's because he's got better size. He's got better elusiveness. I believe that Justin Fields, despite some of the rumors out there that he can't throw the ball downfield, I think he can make all the throws, but he's just got to be harnessed and reeled in a little bit. To me, Bryce Young is a guy you've got to wonder about those durability concerns, because even a Justin Fields, even a Jalen Hurts, even a Kyler Murray, who are built, right, even more thick than Bryce Young, they can't stay healthy through a 17-plus game season. So I think there's a legitimate concern with Bryce Young. I know what I got in Justin Fields. I've eliminated the guesswork. All these other quarterbacks, I mean, they're guesses as far as we're concerned.
All right, packing it in. That's the quarterbacks. We'll be back on Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Set the alarm. Make sure you bring it, and we're bringing it here with new trends. We already have a big name. Decides, workout's not for me, Jalen Carter. So some new trends and how it affects the combine this week.
Yeah, Mike, I would have liked to tell you that the one thing we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic was you never bypass an opportunity to compete, because that opportunity can be taken away from you in the blink of an eye. You just don't know what's holding in store for us tomorrow. So it was disappointing, one, to see so many first-round picks opt out of the Senior Bowl. I believe it was a record number. And now we're starting to see the trend of, we've seen it with the bowl games, right? They've essentially become spring ball games. Well, now they're saying, hey, well, what do I need to go to the combine and work out for? I'm a top 10 pick. How much more money am I going to improve my draft stock by going out there? If I'm Jalen Carter and I'm the best player in the draft, Mike, why am I going to go through this song and dance and stand in line and do the medical and do the positional drills? What do I got to prove? So I don't blame the players. I understand it, but I do think that there is an emerging problem here. I don't know what the solution is just yet, but I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger trend. And all you need is that top guy to say, hey, I'm not working out. And all these quarterbacks and all these other top players, they're going to be turning to their agents and saying, yo, what do I got to work out for?
Yeah, I know it's a shame, and it's like everything. I mean, it's almost like the NBA, the NFL, and the NBA, for that matter, should mandate these things. It's almost like a prerequisite. If you want to be a police officer, the prerequisite is you got to go through the academy. I can't just say, hey, I'd like to be a police officer. Hey, you're hired. I might be the best possible officer in the world. But if I don't get through that academy, I can't even be considered. That's what I think the NFL and the NBA for these draft processes need to do. If you want to play in our league, this is the prerequisite. If you don't want to go through those prerequisites, you can have another line of work. But
Granted, and
it'll
well,
never get to that point.
but it might not be much coin, but I believe the police academy, you're getting trained for that. You're getting paid for that training, right? And I think that's where the problem lies is NFL's not paying these guys. So
Yeah.
amateur sports is over. College football is no longer an
No,
amateur sport.
I can turn it to any profession, Rick. If I want to be a doctor, I'm not Doogie Howser walking right in. I need to go to med school. I got to do my hours. I got to put in the time to become the doctor. Even if I'm smart enough to be a doctor right now, I can't get the doctor until I have the piece of paper that says I finished my class. If I want to be a teacher, I've got to go through all the training. I have to get my teaching certificate. I can't just be a teacher. If the NFL wants to say, hey, you want to come to our league, you need to get the prerequisites all checked off. The problem is that'll never happen. There's too much money, but that's just my opinion, and that's what this is for. All right, down the stretch we come. Our first edition of the NFL Draft All Access Pass. Ric Serritella, he's going to be at the Combine all this week. We'll be back at 10 o'clock on Wednesday with what he's hearing and seeing out there. So give me some Combine risers and surprisers as we get ready to kick off the biggest week in draft.
Yeah, and we mentioned AR-44 Anthony Richardson. I think there's going to be a big buzz surrounding him. But one thing about the Combine, Mike, is you get all these alpha males, especially the quarterback position, on the same playing field. And I've been lucky enough to be granted access inside Lucas Oil Stadium for the quarterback workouts. And I'll tell you what, man, usually the guy who rises at the Combine, the leader amongst leaders, the man amongst studs, they typically tend to shoot up the draft boards. And I think Anthony Richardson is going to create a little buzz for himself. And the running back, Bijan Robinson, like if you look at the NFL trend, we saw more 1,000-yard rushers, I believe. We saw more teams run the ball. I think we had about a half a dozen teams run the ball 50% of the time this year. That is a trend that's on the come around. And I think teams are going to start to value running backs more. I don't know how high Bijan Robinson goes, but he's going to create a buzz for himself. And then Luke Musgrave had himself a week, I should say, down at the Senior Bowl. You haven't seen him in the first round mocks a lot. I think after Indianapolis, that begins to change. And I just want to say the defensive back, especially the cornerback class, they're gonna work out last. And in this scenario, Mike, sometimes you save the best for last because Devin Witherspoon was a guy. He was the guy we've last seen and heard from down in Mobile, and he definitely warrants QB1 designation. However, there are some big, lean, long, fast cornerbacks that are going to be blazing down that 40-yard dash line in Lucas Oil Stadium. And I think guys like Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State, these guys are going to run in the 4.4, maybe even the 4.3 range at 6'2". And then Kaylee Ringo is a guy from Georgia. I feel like he's the forgotten man. At one point, he was the cornerback one in this year's draft. I think if scouts see that change of direction, that W drill is something that I value with the cornerbacks. If he can show the change of direction, the back pedal, the hip fluidity, I think Kaylee Ringo can state a case for cornerback number one. So much like the quarterback debate, I think the cornerback debate is only going to intensify after this week in Indianapolis.
So if your team needs a corner, Rick's saying this is a good draft for you to get one. A couple things, quick hitters before we get out of here. Who's the fastest player in Lucas Oil Stadium? Hey, we just saw Isaiah Pacheco, Rutgers, 7th-round pick. He was the fastest running back last year. He ends up winning a Super Bowl. So who's that story this year? Who are we watching get on that 40-yard dash line and open some eyes?
It's funny because I saw Pop at the pro day, and I told the scouts in attendance, I said, buckle up, be ready, because my man is going to come blazing down that line. And I told all the scouts in attendance, I said, you see that, man? I said, that's what a thoroughbred looks like. That's the best running back in this year's draft. Now, they didn't want to believe me, so I'm here to tell you that Tyjae Spears, I think, is a guy that might blaze a fast 40. Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State is a guy that might blaze down that 40-yard dash time. Even Christian Gonzalez who I'm hearing could run in the low to mid 4.3 range at 6'1" and change, could be in the contention there. So one thing we've seen from the NFL scouting combine since 1982, Mike, I can guarantee you it's going to happen again this year. Bigger, stronger, faster. These athletes are just so incredible. And you've got these 300 pounders now. A guy like Jalen Carter, had he run, maybe we'll see it at the pro day workout, he would be in the sub 5.0 range. I mean, you got 300 pounders now running down there as fast as tight ends. You've got some quarterbacks who might fly in this year's draft if they choose to run. Remember, Lamar Jackson opted out of running the 40-yard dash because too many people talked about him being a wide receiver. So there's a lot of strategy, a lot of thought process. I think sometimes we overthink it. And so to me, that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's good because you talk about overthinking. Let's get out on this. NFL Draft Bibles All Access Pass. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right here on the BFA Sports YouTube channel, social media, like, rate, review, subscribe. We'll be back Wednesday at 10, Friday at 10. Rick's going to be in Indianapolis. He's going to have draft nuggets, news notes, and what he's hearing. He's keeping an ear to the Marriott out there. But before we go, how about this? Green Bay decides, you know what? Our coaches are better off hanging home this year. New trend.
Yeah, you know, and this is another one where I kind of scratch my head, Mike, because I understand the logic and the thought process, and Sean McVay is another one. I'm hearing that Kyle Shanahan might get on this bandwagon and leave the 49ers coaches behind. And the Matt LaFleur was saying, hey, my coaches are better off planning new schemes for the upcoming season. Oh, really? Well, how about this? How about we got the next 11 months to do that? How about we go to Indianapolis? And to me, like, the medical obviously is important. And to me, the team interviews. Now, granted, you get to talk to a lot of these players at the All-Star circuit and the pro days. I get it. But there's nothing like that quote unquote date dash where you have the 15-minute speed dates and you get these prospects in a room and you put them under the spotlights here and the pressure and the rapid fire and the chalk talk, and you get to know a guy. And I don't care how media trained or rehearsed his answers are, you get at least a feel for the guy. Can I work with him? Do I like his DNA? And to me, the more I do this process, Mike, there's a very fine line between the talent level in the NFL. What you're trying to do is measure here and measure here. And once you can get inside a guy's head, and we'll never be able to measure his heart truly, but if I can look a man in the eye, if I can gauge his body language, if I can see what he's about, that's going to help me eliminate the risk. So the coaching staffs who stay home, I think they're doing their organization a mighty, mighty disservice.
He's Ric Serritella. He established the NFL Draft Bible in 2002. It's the leading authority on the NFL Draft. It's used by all 32 NFL teams. You're getting an inside all-access pass right here every day, or excuse me, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. We'll be on Twitter Spaces as well, talking all things draft. The Draft Bible is a member of the Pro Football Writers Association. He's going to be in Indianapolis. You get year-round NFL draft rankings and more. This is just a taste. It's episode 1 of the NFL Draft Bible, All Access Pass. Ric Serritella, I'm Mike Gill. We hit on a bunch, but this is just the start. Wednesday, 10 a.m., right back here. BFA Sports YouTube channel and the social media platform. You can find us. All can draft the combine. This week, it's the most wonderful time of the NFL year. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on Wednesday. Look for us on Twitter Spaces.